Hello and welcome to Sunday Sermon on Politics Social. I am Graham Hughes. Nice to have you with us this morning. Sorry, I was a bit late getting started there. Martin Harrow is in the chat, so Shropshire Chris. We've got Pete's Music in there as well, and Ms. Paula Thomas. We've also got Saz47 and Miss Elsby and others, Jenny Davis as well. Hello one, hello all. All you need to do if you want to join our friends in the chat here as we're discussing this ridiculous world in which we live at the moment, this ridiculous timeline. If you just press the subscribe button and wait for 1 minute, you can join the chat. But don't be a troll. Don't be horrible. And don't tell them, yeah, it's a great thing that we're going to invade Greenland. If you don't really understand the consequences of something, maybe it's best that you don't comment. Just saying, maybe you should keep your gob shut. And just let everyone think you're daft instead of proving it to them. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Greenland again. I know we talked about it last week, but I want to sort of center in today on how this will not work. This will not work. This is a ridiculous proposition on all fronts. It is just absolutely comically daft. Like, it is something that a 12-year-old, a spoiled brat 12-year-old, one of the kids from Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory tour would concoct and cock up. I mean, this is just as far as foreign policy goals are concerned, this has to be the most absurd, possibly in human history. I mean, this is beyond stupid. This is so stupid that it should be locked up in an asylum. That's how daft this, because it's dangerously daft, you see. It's not just, someone being a bit stupid and thinking they have the moon in the bucket or that the earth is flat or something. No, this is dangerous stupidity, weaponized ignorance. So, America already has what it claims to want. This is the core error of what Trump is saying that he wants to do with Greenland. The US already has full military access to Greenland under existing defense agreements with Denmark, its NATO partner. The US already operates the Pacific space base up there, which is formerly called Thule, and it's one of the most important early warning and missile tracking installations. But only about 100 people work there. Do you know what I mean? Like, the US does not need sovereignty to station troops, build bases, monitor Russia, or operate in the Arctic. There is no strategic capability gained by annexation that cannot be already achieved by cooperation. In fact, if you try and take that capability via annexation, you're going to be less capable because it's going to be the Americans on their own and no one's going to give them any support. The Canadians aren't going to go in with them. The Greenlanders aren't going to want the Americans there. So, we'll get into that in a moment. With the European powers, the other members of NATO, the other 30 members of NATO, which are in Europe, are going to be like, nope, not having this. We're not going to send troops to defend what? Americans against who? Who again? Once these American soldiers start coming back in body bags for a few acres of fucking snow, I think American people might realize, maybe some of them, that they've done the wrong thing. But then again, most Trump voters, they are so far and beyond any realms of understanding, common sense, intelligence. I just not much down for them. But yeah, here we are. There's no strategic capability that will be gained, and also, at the end of the day, any attempt to take Greenland, it's not informed by national security needs or a defense strategic initiative. It is just pure ego. It is pure Trumpian ego and imperial ego at that. He sees it on a Mercator projection. He thinks it's the size of Africa, and he goes, I'll have that. Even though it's effectively worthless. In fact, it's worse than worthless to the Americans. And I'll get into why. First of all, annexation, as we've already discussed, immediately destroys NATO as we know it, America's greatest strategic asset. Don't forget, it's not just that these countries spend X amount of their GDP on military defense. It's not just that. It's the operational sharing of intelligence and information. That's what makes NATO so valuable. You have got stations in Finland all along the Russian border that you can tap into. Turkey and the states on the Black Sea. We can keep an eye on what Russia is up to. If you think about a ship leaving from St. Petersburg and going to Kaliningrad, it's got this like little narrow corridor that it can go through, and it's completely surrounded. It's they call it the NATO lake. It's completely surrounded. Finland, Sweden, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, all members of NATO. And the NATO's credibility rests on the idea that members do not threaten each other's territorial integrity. By doing this, Trump is breaking the NATO treaty. Even if he doesn't invade, at the moment he is breaking the treaty, because that is the whole point of having that treaty, is to say we're not going to attack each other. He's threatening to attack another NATO member. And once that line is crossed, Article 5, one for all and all for one, that becomes meaningless. Mutual defense becomes optional. So maybe the countries that remain in NATO, or maybe we'll rename it and call it something else. We might help each other out, but we're sure shit gonna help the Americans. Not under this fucking tyrant. Not under this fucking Naranja fucking Nero. And trust between countries is already, especially with America, it's already, fraying. It's already pretty fucking threadbare as it is. This will just break it. This will just break it completely. And this is not theoretical. NATO exists to prevent internal conflicts between allied states, as well as presenting a united front against Russia and its military and imperialistic ambitions. And the US violates that principle. The alliance collapses in practice, even if it doesn't collapse on paper and it stutters on somehow. It's useless without its Article 5. It's like those aliens without their heads. They're completely useless. I found their weak spot. They're useless without their heads. And America, what will happen to them is they will lose the single most powerful force multiplier, put it that way, force multiplier in modern history, the alliance network, and it'll lose it all. And Europe's not going to fall in line. What European leaders will do, which they always do, is they'll just smile and nod, and then behind the scenes, they will consciously uncouple. Like Chris Martin and Gwyneth Paltrow. Okay, they will consciously decouple from America once NATO is broken. And America's doing its own thing. Europe must assume that the US is no longer a reliable security partner. American power is coercive, not cooperative. This forces Europe to act in self-defense. Independent military structures, accelerated defense integration with each other, and strategic autonomy in energy tech, finance, nuclear defense in general. If these countries are spending more of their GDP on defense, they're not going to be buying from American companies. It's as simple as that. It also triggers the necessity, and necessity is the mother of invention, of European alternatives to US tech giants. You will see very quickly a copy and paste version of Twitter, which is a European version. You'll see a copy and paste version of Facebook, which is a European version. You'll see a copy and paste version of Google, perhaps, a European version of it, a European version of Amazon. You will have countries in Europe saying, no, Mr. Bezos, you can't sell your shit in our country anymore. We've set our own thing up and people have to use that instead. What happens then? What happens then when these multi-millionaires, billionaires, don't get any more money from what the richest, the richest continent in the world? Where are they going to sell their stuff to? I mean, there's a lot of Americans. I suppose they can sell stuff to them. But when you look at a film that comes out, when you look at the worldwide gross, that's usually twice what they got in America. It never used to be that way, It used to be like America was where they made the bulk of the money in the box office, and then they made a little bit from the worldwide sales. Now it's 50-50. So, reduced reliance on American platforms, long-term economic and technological disengagement from America. I mean, at the moment, we still use American satellites for our GPS, and that's going to switch. It's going to switch to Eurosat. Of course it is. America isn't going to, it's called the Galileo constellation, isn't it? The Galileo, is that right? It's going to switch, And America doesn't gain control over anything. In fact, it loses control. It loses interference if they go ahead and do this. Ms. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Polls suggesting that 75% of Americans oppose Greenland invasion, including 47% of Republicans. Yeah, but those Republicans will fall in line if he does actually invade, just like they did with Maduro. So a week before they went and kidnapped Maduro, a poll said, like half of Republicans said, no, we don't want you going in and kidnapping the leader of a foreign state. And then once he did it, like 100% of the Republicans were like, yeah, that was great. That's the issue. I don't see him getting that much blowback at home over this because America's gone. Friends, I've done me mourning. Did it years ago. America is on a path of self-destruction, which no mortal man can really stop, except maybe Trump if he died. So imagine for a moment that Trump is mad enough to send troops to Greenland, right? And they have a battle, and some Americans die, some Danish troops die, British troops die, Greenlanders, civilians get caught in the crossfire, right? And they take over this vast, harsh, logistically brutal, permanent strategic liability. It is lightly populated, but politically hostile to annexation. And yeah, you might be able to bribe the people who live in Nuuk, the capital, but there's loads of people who live elsewhere around the country, and they live in the Arctic Circle, and they're hardy motherfuckers. And an American who's been doing all the training in bloody desert scenarios in Iraq, Afghanistan, etc., they're not equipped. They don't have the equipment to hold Greenland in an effective way. The amount of money they will have to spend on new stuff. We were talking about this before. They've only got 2 icebreakers in the whole US fleet of over 1,000 ships. They've only got 2 icebreakers because they weren't expecting a war on the ice. Ivan, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. Thank you. Usually I keep away from US content, but these unjustified tariffs have a direct impact on the UK. Here I am. Thanks, Ivan. Boycott Amazon, McDonald's, and all other American companies and products. P.S. I can't cope with ICE content, though. Yeah, the ICE content is really fucking grim. Every other video, if you go on Instagram or TikTok, it's just video after video of ICE just being absolutely fucking horrific. So I completely understand that, Ivan, and we're not going to be talking about ICE. Well, the only ICE we're going to be talking about today is the ICE that covers most of Greenland most of the year. Occupying Greenland would require a continuous military presence, massive supply chains that are insurmountable at the moment because most of the countries in the Arctic Circle, and I'll circle back to this because it's really important. You've got permanent surveillance will be required, permanent enforcement, and this means endless costs with no economic return. Give me a second. I'll talk about the mineral rights because this is mind blowing. Right, the constant political resistance that is going to be there, and this is Afghanistan. The same problem in Afghanistan in Arctic form. It's easy to enter, impossible to justify, expensive to maintain, and politically corrosive. Over time, they may take Greenland, but they won't be able to keep it. They will not be able to keep it. I'll tell you that now. We see this time and time again in history where some big bully boy turns up and thinks that they can take over a place and keep everyone sweet. And you know what? Sometimes they can for a while. But always, whether it's the US and American troops, the UK and American troops in Afghanistan, or whether it's the Roman fucking Empire, if the people that you are ruling over do not want to be ruled over anymore, you can't rule over them. It's as simple as that. Look at the British Empire. It was brought down by one Indian lawyer who refused he refused to work. He tells people, he said to his Indian compatriots, don't fucking work, go on strike. I'm going to go on a salt march. You say I can't make salt. I'm going to go and walk and make some salt. What are you going to do? Put me in jail? Okay. Just makes me stronger. He managed to bring down the British Empire without shooting a single fucking bullet. That is remarkable, what Gandhi did in India. And we can talk about whether, he was a flawed human being, obviously. I mean, we all are. We can also talk about the consequences of what happened, and we can talk about partition and the massacres. But at the end of the day, if you just want to look at like how that was stopped, how the British Empire eventually, I know it sputtered on for a few years after it, but the moment of Indian independence, that was the end of the British Empire. For all intents and purposes, everything else was just desperately clearing up the messes that they had made. By clearing up the messes, I mean killing everyone who remembered the atrocities that were committed by the British in places like Kenya, a place where they actually burnt all the documents so that nobody found out what happened between 1945 and 1957, which was really fucking grim. But yeah, the point remains. The Soviet Empire wasn't brought down necessarily at the barrel of a gun. It was soldiers returning home from Afghanistan where they failed to take it over again for the 999th time in fucking history, coming back, feeling humiliated because they couldn't win in Afghanistan. The government has spent all their money on military equipment and arms and nuclear weapons, and there was no money to feed their people. They were queuing up for 2 weeks for a loaf of moldy bread and a rotten potato, and it was unsustainable. The rot came from within, and the same will happen with the American empire. They are not going to be able to keep hold of this place that does not want them there. Urbane Legends, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. The US will be bankrupt. Europe owns a huge amount of US debt. If they sell it, and will start making dollar value fall, and there will be a run. That is very likely. That is another likely thing to happen. But also, I mean, his argument, and we know it's not about this, but this is, I guess, by the likes of Stephen Miller and the disgusting vampires that congregate around Trump and give him stupid ideas. This is what they think. I think they're like, we need to control the minerals. Now, I talked before about how it's cheaper just to buy it. This is a ridiculous idea that they've got in their heads. It's like going, I've got to do me shopping. I've got to go to the supermarket and do me shopping. And you get to the supermarket and you're like, fuck this. I'm going to take over the whole supermarket. Oh, okay. So now what? You have to run a supermarket. Yeah. And get logistics all set up for the supermarket. Yeah. And you have to defend it against the previous owners of the supermarket who want it back. Yeah. Why don't you just get your shopping? It will actually be cheaper to just get your shopping. Yeah, but if I have the supermarket, I can have it for free. Yeah, that argument just doesn't work. It just does not work in any way, shape, or form. Especially when there's people on the outside going, I don't want you here. I don't want you running this supermarket. And I'm going to make your life a fucking misery if you try and take it over. You'll be constantly surveilling. You'll spend more on surveillance than you will make in money from selling stuff from the fucking supermarket. And there's another point about the minerals. It's not, minerals are everywhere. I mean, the rare earths aren't that rare. They're just difficult to get out the ground. There's loads of them in Australia. There's loads of them in Patagonia. There's loads of them all over the fucking world. America could just buy them. Just buy them. Just buy them. The problem isn't getting the rare earths. It's processing them, which at the moment, China does 90% of the processing for rare earths. So set up some fucking processing plants instead of spending money on your military invasion of an island that doesn't even fucking want you there. Why don't you spend money on building a few facilities to refine refine rare earth elements? Why not? Yeah. Ivan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Even Badenoch is agreeing with Starmer on Greenland and Greenland-related tariffs. Farage, though, don't hold your breath. Well, Farage will just do what he's told by his handlers in Moscow. I think I saw something about it'll work out destroying 15 to 18% of the markets overall. So I agree. Do it, but let people know it's going to hurt everyone. I'm going to assume ICE is all cis, straight me, or closeted anyway. Yes. So ICE, cis. Oh, very good. Very good, L. I like that. ICE, cis. God, that makes so much sense as well. Can't spell ice. You can't say ISIS without ice. But yeah, so when I'm talking about running the supermarket, it's kind of like a thought experiment. But imagine this supermarket's on top of a fucking inaccessible mountain. It's on the top of fucking K2. Good luck getting to the top of it. Do you know what I mean? Like the Arctic extraction is the most expensive mining operation on Earth. You know, the infrastructure costs dwarf any theoretical profit because you don't make that much money from rare earths. They're not that rare, you know. And you can't create a fake scarcity like you can with diamonds. But even diamonds wouldn't be worth fucking mining at these latitudes. It's just bonkers. The ice, the remoteness, the environmental risk, the transport, it just destroys any kind of margins. Most of the year, most of the ports are just completely iced up. What are you going to do? And meanwhile, the US already buys rare earths on the global market. Australia, Chile, others can supply their stuff at a lower cost. Sovereignty is irrelevant to access. It's like saying we need to invade America to get to the burgers. And it's like, really? Really? Is that your plan? Because that sounds like a fucking mad plan, considering you could just make your own burgers or get them from somewhere else. Just buy them. If minerals were genuinely profitable, then private capital would already be there. It's not like there's all these evil men sitting around boardroom tables going, let's think of the social good. Let's think about the environment. Let's think of the needs of the indigenous people of the land. They're all about wealth extraction, but there's no wealth to extract. From Greenland, put this really simply, it costs too much to extract the wealth. You will not make any money. It's completely pointless. And then we talk about shipping lanes, right? Strategic, absolute nonsense. And as this falls into a little bit of my sort of experience in life of shipping and logistics, the idea that you take Greenland and then suddenly Arctic routes that have opened up because of climate change become US owned automatically by owning Greenland. No, they don't. Those ships will still pass Canadian waters and Russian waters for thousands of miles. International maritime law still applies, even with melting ice. The routes are seasonal. Half the year you can't go through them. It's also, all through the year, it's fucking dangerous. Oh, great, it's April, they say. The ice is melting. Let's take my ship through the Bering Strait or whatever the fuck it's got. Not the Bering Strait, the bit at the top of, let's go over the top of Canada, right? Over the top. Because it's the ice is breaking. Do you know what ice breaking up means? Growlers. Yeah, stop laughing. Growlers are really small icebergs that don't show up on radar. Because, as you know with icebergs, most of them are under the water. You only see the little bit at the top coming up. The vast majority of an iceberg is under the water. And if these are small enough, they don't get picked up on the radar. They don't get picked up on the sonar of the ship. So, April is a time when you're going across the North Atlantic and it's very dangerous because of all the icebergs. Do you know any ship that famously hit an iceberg? Remind me again, what month of the year was that the Titanic hit a motherfucking iceberg? Oh, it was April. Right, so let's just say all through the fucking winter, it's iced up. When the ice is breaking up, it's dangerous as fuck because there's all these icebergs and smaller icebergs that don't get picked up on your sonar or your radar called growlers. I know, great name. And if you hit one of those at 20 knots, it's going to fuck up your day. Plus, also, the weather up there. We don't know what the weather's going to be doing over the next few years up there. You know, it's all very well going, it's quite calm up there in the poles, isn't it? You don't get the roaring 40s up at the poles. No, you don't, but we don't know what's going to happen as the ice melts. We really don't. And so, even if, for this mad idea that we're going to have these amazing new shipping routes, right, which are going to save so much money, they're going to save so much money, no one's going to fucking insure you for half the year. So you're only going to be able to use them, let's say, for 3 months of the year. Okay, you can use these shipping routes for 3 months of the year, and now Trump has got Greenland. He can take a toll as you go past or something. I don't know how that will fucking work, right? So he's got this, right? Do you want to know something about global shipping at the moment? It's slowing down. Do you know why? Because the ships are getting so fucking big, they can hold 22,000 TEUs, which is the containers, 20-foot containers. 22,000 on one ship, right? They're slowing down. So they use less fuel and they don't have to pay the people on board as much. Because what they used to do is used to go full tilt all the way to wherever their destination was. And then they would sit outside the port on the horizon, bobbing up and down for days until they had a place. There's no point. The ports aren't big enough. They just, it takes a while to offload 22,000 containers. I know you wouldn't do that all in one port, but the fact remains that, these shipping yards have fucking capacity around the world. And so what ships are doing is they're slowing down. Instead of going at 20 knots, they're going at 10 knots. So it takes an extra few days. It doesn't make any difference. They use less fuel by doing it that way. And also, they're not paying people just to sit on a boat while it bobs up and down in the water doing nothing for a week. Because they got there a week early. Whoa, we got there so fast. What do we do now? We sit here in the ship, waiting. You're burning fuel. The engines might be off, but you're still burning fuel. You got to keep the lights on. And so just this idea that this global trade choke point is going to be captured by annexing Greenland. It's for the birds. It makes more sense for him to take the Panama Canal. Don't want to give him ideas, but that is a pinch point. So is Suez. It's a fucking pinch point that you've got to pay to go through. But the idea that you're going to have these few months of the year when you're going to be able to get from China to Finland faster, yay, through a very, very dangerous route. That is largely unacceptable. And another thing about, the Atlantic. We've had ships going across the Atlantic, the North Atlantic, not the far north, the North Atlantic, right? For hundreds of years. We've got over 500 years of experience as Europeans of navigating that ocean. What experience have we got of the fucking Arctic seas? Fucking nothing. Absolutely nothing. In comparison. And it's just like, what are you trying to do? One of America's biggest trading partners is Europe. So that's the east coast of America. Okay, you just go straight across. Why'd you have to go up to the Arctic? It makes no sense, right? And then it's other strategic, partner when it comes to trade. Japan, Taiwan, China. Just go straight across the Atlantic, the Pacific. It's not, unless you want to take something from, I don't know, from your port in Shanghai, and you're going to take it all over the way to New York, I guess. I don't know. Well, I guess it'll be shorter if you go over the top rather than through the Panama Canal, but not much shorter. And it's a lot safer to take it through the Panama Canal. This idea about shipping routes, I'm just looking at the map going, what the fuck is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? This is the problem with people who are fucking idiots being in charge. So they look at a map and they get these mad ideas. They go, oh yeah, you can just have a trade route for it. You can't. It just can't happen. You're completely fucking reliant on the weather. And it in a way that you can't even go round. There are storms in the Atlantic and we cope with it. Ships, you never hear really about that many ships. There's a movie about it called The Perfect Storm where the fishing boat went out and got hit by 2 storms at once. But by and large, these ships that are traversing the world's oceans at any one time, if there's a storm coming up, on the horizon, they can get around it. If you're going through a little narrow strait with ice on either side of you, and where are you going to go? A little channel that's been cut out by an ice cutter, icebreaker. Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. I was actually talking about Greenland in a Facebook group last night. The group is called Ipswich Talk About Anything. However, some people moan when any level of politics is discussed. Yeah, well, Ivan, come on. I kind of get that. Some people don't want to talk about it because it's depressing as fuck. He says, presenting a show on a channel called Politics Social. But yeah, also, if Trump did go into Greenland, which he might do, I'm not saying that he won't do this, by the way. I'm just saying that if he does, it's going to be a fucking disaster. I'm just laying out the reasons why it's going to be a fucking disaster, why it's not going to work. It's not going to achieve any of his goals. It's not going to achieve any of his defense goals, any getting the materials, minerals goals, and none of the capitalist goals. It's not going to make the shipping routes any easier going through the Arctic. It's going to make no difference whatsoever to the situation as it is at the moment. It's going to make America smaller, less defended, fewer friends, fewer allies, less intelligence about what other countries are doing. And, this is This is a fantasy. You know, it's not. There's no real plan here. It makes no sense, and you can't get a Trumper to explain how it makes sense. And that fires their noodle out, and they'll react quite aggressively to you, which is makes me happy that I live a fucking massive ocean away from that place, because you know when Americans get angry, they start shooting people. At least they can't get me here. I hope not. Anyway, so another consequence of this will be Canada feeling strategically threatened, surrounded on all sides by enemies. So you've got that massive, the 49th parallel, the border between Canada and America, and then you've got to the south of them, then to the west of them, they've got Alaska, and to the east of them, they'll have Greenland, and to the north of them, they'll have the North Pole, and a little bit further than that, so south of the North Pole, that's complicated, isn't it, is Russia, who is an enemy of NATO. That's why NATO was set up to curtail the machinations, the imperialistic machinations of Moscow. So yeah, this would encircle Canada's eastern approaches. It turns the Arctic into a pressure zone for in terms of defense, and it makes America, look threatening. He's already talked about taking Canada and making it the 51st state. And what's going to happen? Well, Canada's going to militarize its Arctic frontier. And we can talk about, there's not that many people who live in Greenland. It's only about 70,000 people. I mean, we could just bribe them all. Yeah, but like Canadians are trained to fight in the freezing cold. So is Finland. So the people of Finland, Norway. So obviously the Greenlanders and the Danes who fight there as well, or train there at least. And you're going to have, it doesn't matter how many American troops that they can pour into this arena, they're not going to be wanted to be there, and they're not going to have any pals. Canada is going to think, what the fuck? And it's going to seek alternative alliances. We saw this week Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, meeting up with Xi Jinping, meeting up to talk about, mutual cooperation between China and Canada. You saw that? I saw that. Yeah, of course that's going down. Because they're reconsidering everything. They're reconsidering not just economically, but their long-term deterrence strategies. And you're going to turn former allies, as it will be if Trump does do this, into suspicious neighbors. And look, let's talk about China for a moment. And Russia, they will benefit immediately from this. From Moscow's perspective, NATO, the organization that was invented to keep these motherfuckers in check, unity shattered. Brilliant. Moral authority of the West, shattered. Brilliant. US rhetoric indistinguishable from imperial expansion, which is what Russia wants. They do it, we can do it. Well, they took Greenland, so of course we can take Ukraine. From Beijing's perspective, the US condemnation of territorial seizures of Taiwan completely collapses, and all the shit that's going on in the Spratly Islands and the South China Sea. There's a lot of territorial fucking argy-bargy going on in the South China Sea, It's China versus about 9 other countries that all have claims over these fucking islands because there might be oil there or something. I don't know. China's making artificial islands just so they can expand their national... each country's got a certain amount of water from its coast that it can claim as its own. We have, like, in the UK, there's a rock in the Atlantic. It's like 1,000 miles away. And we claim that rock. And because of that, it allows us to have we own the land. We own the water around that rock. Someone's going to tell me the name of it in the chat, I'm sure. At some point, but yeah, fishing rights, and if people want to bring a ship in there, they have to let us know, and all that kind of stuff. Territorial waters, and the Spratly Islands and all that area around there are contested over all these countries, and China's just got to go, okay, America can do it, so can we. And the arguments for Taiwan being an independent state. Well, what's the difference between the big continental power next door to the little island that it wants for reasons? Don't even have to be good reasons, just reasons. What's the difference between America taking Greenland and China taking Taiwan? Just a much, much bigger population. Chris C, thank you very much for the £2 super chat. tariffs are basically blackmail and extortion. Yes, they absolutely are. But also, thank you for the tip jacket. Which is always good. So thank you very much. Trump awarded the FIFA Peace Prize. What a joke, says the guy with the... Yeah, well, he was also given the Nobel Peace Prize by the person who actually won it. I mean, and he's got a picture of him like smiling, like a child, like a kid who's just been given a lollipop for coming last in the three-legged race. Anyway, the Russia and China, like, they're being handed the perfect propaganda victory by Trump. They don't need to act. They don't need to do anything. They just watch the fucking damage. Eat some popcorn while they, threaten their neighbors. And the domestic cost to America. So they're going to put tariffs on us, right? So 8 countries: Finland, Denmark, the UK, Netherlands, France, others. They're going to put these tariffs on. They're going to be 10% on top of the 10% I think we already have. And that's going to kick in on February the 1st. And then June the 1st, if we hadn't given them Greenland, they're going to go up to 25%. Okay. Do we pay this? No. American companies importing stuff from Europe, they pay that. That's how tariffs work. They're a tax. They are a tax. And they will pass that on to the customers in one way or the other. They always do. And so you've got, even before any kind of official annexation by America of Greenland, he's already fucking the economy of America for Americans with his fucking mad tariff shit. And here's the thing. We don't know. In the next few days, we might get a verdict from the Supreme Court. Now, I don't want to blow smoke up your ass. I don't think that they're going to come down on Trump. I think they're going to say, yeah, Trump, whatever you want to do is good. You are an emperor. You are the God King. But let's say, little fantasy world, that the Scrotus isn't the corrupt piece of shit that it is, and they say, no, you can't put tariffs without asking for Congress's permission. You can't just set tariffs. Where does that leave him? Does he have to not put the tariffs on February the 1st? I don't know. But I'll tell you this. If they send troops over there, they're going to lose some of them. Not all of them, but some of them. Do you know how most of them are going to go? They're fucking cold. The cold's going to kill so many of them because they're not used to it. They don't know what they're doing. They've had no fucking training in the far north. They won't wear the right equipment. They won't wear the right clothes. They won't wear the right underwear. I know that sounds like a ridiculous thing to say, but like, these people who go and like try and walk to the fucking South Pole or something, they've got to prepare. They've got to seriously fucking prepare. And they're not up against hostile natives who are like, I don't want you here in the South Pole. If you come anywhere near me, I'll fucking shoot you. And there's another thing, like, it's very easy to see people. And people can wear white, camouflage in the snow, but it's quite easy to see things in the snow. It's hard not to leave tracks behind in the snow. That's what snow does very well. But the locals who live there, they know what they're doing. They've lived there for hundreds of years, some of them thousands of years. The Inuit people who were there, but they were there before bloody Leif Erikson turned up. So yeah, why also, I mean, we've talked about in the sort of the economic side of this, but could you imagine like Americans coming home in body bags from fucking Greenland? And half of America going, what the fuck are we doing? That would absolutely lead to not just like an international isolation, but a complete breakdown of the social contract in America, which is under considerable strain as it is. And like, people could just go, why are Americans dying for an island we already have access to? They can put as many troops on the fucking island as they want. They have a deal with Denmark to do that. They can set up more bases. They used to have about 15 fucking bases in Greenland, and then now they got one. But that was their decision. That was their decision to shut these places down. So like, this is not, smart power. It's not realism. It's not a deterrence. This is the most ridiculous thing that any country has ever done in the history of the world. And countries have done some really daft things in the past. I mean, Argentina had a better chance of getting the Falkland Islands than America does of getting and keeping the Falkland Islands than America does of keeping Greenland. You know, no new capability gained by taking it. It would destroy NATO. Europe would decouple militarily, economically. Permanent occupation would cost a fucking fortune. A hostile population. The minerals are uneconomic. The shipping lanes are a fucking myth. And Canada will take up arms against America, at least on the borders. At least, there will be some contention. Russia and China are laughing all the way to the wank. And fucking, the domestic backlash in America is going to be pretty insurmountable, I think, for the Trump administration, especially if Trump carks it. As soon as Trump is dead, I mean, the rest of his fucking gobshites, they better get out of America quick and go to their palaces in Qatar or Saudi Arabia or wherever they've been, set up, wherever the pillows have been plumped for them. I don't think they understand that Trump is the only thing keeping them out of jail. As soon as he's gone, that's it. The clampdown is going to be fucking almost instantaneous on these fuckers. They're going to be found guilty of so many crimes that they have committed against the American people. They're going to go to fucking jail. And, it might take a while for it all to kick in. The law often does, but they can't hide in the way that people could hide in the past. And they can't just be spirited off to Argentina and no one ever sees them again. A lot of these are big, brash, billionaire bastards. They want to be swanning around on a fucking yacht. No one's going to fucking let them. The way all these Russian oligarchs had their yachts seized around the world, and they quickly had to move them somewhere where they wouldn't get the yacht. It's going to be the same. It's going to be the same because America's going to have pissed off so many people around the world. Where are they going to they're going to turn up to turn up in Canada? Are they going to turn up in France? Are they in Italy? The Greek, these NATO members. They're going to turn up in there. Where the fuck are they going to go? Oh, they'll go to the Caribbean. Oh, the countries in the Caribbean are part of their fucking Commonwealth. I'm not happy about this either. This is going to absolutely massively weaken US power instead of strengthening it. Everything that Trump says he wants to do, it's going to do the opposite. It's not going to make them any money. It's not going to make them any more respected. It's not going to give them anything apart from a picture on a fucking map. It's going to make the US poorer, weaker, isolated, and less secure than it is now. It's just so frustrating that there are 70 million fucking Americans who are just so stupid that they genuinely believe that this is it's got to be done. It's got to be done. Donald Trump tells me it's got to be done, so it's got to be done. Fuck me. Oh, I'm surrounded by idiots. Okay, so I'll jump into the chat now. There's a meme going around of Trump being awarded the Wimbledon Women's Cup. Yeah, I've seen a few of those memes. I feel really bad because I sent out there was a picture made by Chris Barker, who does the end of year pictures with all the people who died that year, and he had Trump getting an award for eating his breakfast, with a little teddy bear on it, and I put that up on my Facebook. And I did put a link to his original on Threads, but the link didn't work. And I went on my Facebook today. I wasn't on it yesterday. I went on it today, and it's been shared 500 times. I'm like, oh shit! And I had a look on Chris's Twitter, Threads, and it's only been shared a few times. I feel really bad now. I've changed it now, so it does take you to his page on Threads, but still, I mean, so you take someone else's image and through just no fault of your own. I just love sort of sharing it with my friends. It gets shared like fucking crazy. Yeah, it's a bit sorry, mate. Sorry, Chris, if you're watching. You are credited. Should someone ask far right if we were in the same shoes as Denmark, Greenland, with let's say the Falkland Islands, what would he do? Say no to the orange twat or appease him? Oh, that's a good point, Jimmy. But yeah, I think he would, appease him. Oh, God, talking to Jimmy's. Have you heard what's happening in America? So, I don't want to go into massive spoilers. But suffice to say, there is a movie called 28 Years Later that came out last year, right? And the idea is, you ask this question, what will Britain look like after 28 years of being isolated from the rest of the world. And there's no radio, there's no satellite links, there's no phones. It's just we are quarantined and cut off from the rest of civilization, right? What would Britain look like? And one of the things that the writer of said film, Alex Garland, thought is if we were to have just been stuck in the culture of whatever it was, 25 years ago, 28 years ago, what would it look like? And without wanting to be too spoilery, one of the conclusions they came to in the last movie, right, and it was hinted towards it was going to be a bigger thing in this movie, is that the feral children who have grown up without adults over the last 28 years would pick a children's entertainer from their era to idolize and dress up as. Yeah. Unfortunately, the children's entertainer that these now grown-up children have chosen to emulate is Jimmy Savile. It's Jimmy. Sorry, spoilers there, but it's Jimmy Savile. Okay. There were people going to the cinema in America, dressed up as Jimmy Savile to go and watch the movie. We might need to explain this to them. I don't know. Just saying. OMG. Someone needs to have a word. Please. One of the things that I found with 28 Years Later last year when I was looking for the reviews, a lot of the American reviews were negative and a lot of the British reviews were very positive. And I think it was quite a uniquely British film. You didn't really get it unless you were British. It was kind of like the dark mirror of the opening ceremony of the 2012 Olympics in London. It was like, the idea that, these cultural touchstones of Britishness and what it means to be British and what the weird ways that will go if we were cut off from the rest of the world for the best part of 30 years. But like the idea of people going in cosplay to, Jesus. And one I'm paying, I love the use of Lindisfarne as a set. Yeah, that was really cool. And Jenny, they haven't got enough people to control the population. 1.3 million troops versus 330 million civilians and veterans. Yeah. Have a great Sunday. I'm off to invade the cupboards for food. That sounds like a good plan, Jack Russell. My stomach is rumbling. I haven't had breakfast yet. What if Trump wanted Scotland because his mother was born there and he's got golf courses there? Would we really give it to him, for fuck's sake, says a guy with a view? No, we wouldn't. And in a rare show of unity, Kemi Badenoch and Keir Starmer are saying, no, this is ridiculous. Trump said that had to drag him kicking and screaming at last time. The general response at the time was, okay, if we have to, we will. He's already doing stuff. I could do a whole episode on what he's planning. I might do this in a future episode of Sunday Sermon. What he's planning to do. It's unlikely that he will get away with doing the Insurrection Act and using that as a pretext to stop elections. Don't forget, America still had elections during the Civil War, still had elections during the War of 1812, it still had elections during the First World War and the Second World War. Although it wasn't in the First World War for very long, but the Second World War it was. So in 1941, Pearl Harbor attacked in December. 1944, they had an election, and Roosevelt won for the fourth time. But then he died, and Truman took over and bombed Japan. The idea that they've got to stop having elections because they're at war with themselves is a nonsense. I don't think that's going to stack up, but he's got ways and means of fucking the system. So one of the big things they're going to do, obviously gerrymandering, but also they're going to have ICE troops on the streets threatening people. They're going to have National Guard or whoever they can get out, threatening people outside polling stations. And finally, they're going to have, almost certainly, they're going to give access to these electronic polling booths to nefarious actors who are going to hack into them and make sure the vote count goes the way that Trump wants it to. Yeah, that's going to happen. They actually got rid of the protection, the antivirus software, if you like. It's like antivirus software, but the protection against anyone hacking into these voting machines around the country. They took that away a few weeks ago. Yeah, under the radar. We were all talking about, I don't know, the invasion of fucking Venezuela. I can't believe we're only 18 days into this year. Feels about fucking 80 days. Are you still giving out Nobel Prizes, Graham? I think I deserve one for making people hungry. You make me so hungry. Okay. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. You know, we have the technology, I'm sure. So this is. Oh, hello. Oh, sorry. I did something wrong there. I wasn't doing the right thing. Damn it. That would have been so smooth. But I pressed on the wrong thing. There you go. Okay, so Nobel Prize! You win a Nobel Prize. Well done, you win a Nobel Prize. I don't like that sort of my face. Get down there. Hey, well done, Al. You win a Nobel Prize for making people hungry. Oh, sorry, it was Gallifreyan Ren, wasn't it? Well done, Ren. You may have a Nobel Prize. Everyone gets a Nobel Prize. Not sure what I missed, but he's more than likely going to send the military to Minnesota the next few days. So they're giving them on standby now. Yeah, he's going to send 1,500 troops to Minnesota. It's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be an absolute fucking bloodbath. Yeah, you take that, rolling. A trans woman just won a Nobel Prize. Haha, brilliant, good stuff. Also, I blame the Democrats for enabling Trump as they haven't done a damn thing. Yes, Chris, see, I blame them. I mean, above all, I blame Biden. Biden should have fucking stood down because he was an old dithery man and his fucking arrogance, his fucking ego would not allow it. He was like, no, I'm the only person who can take on Trump. I've done it once. I can do it again. And it was like, yeah, you did it once under exceptional circumstances. Because everyone was just fucking exhausted after the first 4 years of this Trump fucking cavalcade. God, I want him to not be alive. I want him so much to just fucking stop breathing. And like, this is the proof that prayer doesn't work. Because if it did, Trump wouldn't be with us anymore. Everyone just, people who aren't even religious praying, just please, just let that. And I've talked about this before, but I will mention it because, it's just worth considering. The people I met around the world who were in a country other than their own, who were waiting for Mugabe, Gaddafi, Al-Assad to die or get deposed in order for them to be able to return home to everything they know and love. And now the world has been put in that position. We are all waiting for one squishy human being to stop fucking breathing so we can all breathe a fucking sigh of relief. And do you know what? There is going to be a clean-up process. I'm not going to say it's all going to get better overnight. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of shit going down. And also J.D. Vance will be the president of the United States, which is awful. But J.D. Vance does not have the personality cult that Trump has got. What's going to happen to the World Cup? Well, this is it. I think that the European countries should boycott it. Trump puts tariffs on us. We say, okay, we're not coming to the World Cup. That's it. And honestly, fuck FIFA. Fuck FIFA. Giving him a fucking prize. Peace prize. What the hell? Praying won't work as the devil doesn't want Trump either. It's true. Yeah, I do blame the Democrats to quite a large extent for what's happened. But yeah, what's going to happen next in America is there is no nice way this ends. The nicest way is with Trump shitting himself to death. That's the nicest way this can possibly end. But even then, we've still got another 3 years of J.D. Vance and his fucking clown, screaming monkey clown car of fucking calamitous fucking disasters on fire, going off a cliff. The Republican Party in America is just fucked. It is just so fucked. And all these Republicans falling in line. Yes, Trump. No, Trump. 3 bags full, Trump. I tell you what, though, there was a delegation, bipartisan delegation of Republicans and Democrats who went to Denmark yesterday to say no, we don't want this, and give their support to Greenland, to Denmark. But yeah, just wow, how did we end up on this fucking timeline? How? And I think that we need to really consider how we operate these days and what we've ended up using the internet for, just consider this, right? Bullshit is free. Bullshit that makes people go crazy and want to kill is free on the internet. Quality investigative journalism is expensive. It's behind a paywall. You've got to pay for that. Conspiracy theories, free. The truth, you have to pay for that. You have to get a subscription. What's the FT? Is it £40 a month? £40 a month, thank you. For stuff that is well investigated, for stuff that is true. The free stuff, the conspiracies, Flat Earth Society, the people who sit in their basements, cooking up fucking ideas out the top of their head without doing any research into it whatsoever. Scientific research. I mean, you might be able to get an abstract from a paper, but to actually read the details itself, you've got to pay money. You don't have access to it. Got to have some money. Maybe your university will pay for it. Are you not a university? Well, you're a shit out of luck, aren't you? You can't get that data. It's locked away behind a paywall. Do you want some data that's not true? That someone just pulled out their arse? It's fucking free. It's fucking free. And I'm sick and tired of hearing about the male loneliness epidemic. Especially as the people who go on about it the most are the people who caused it. Are the very people who caused young men to be horrible. Because they told them the only way you're going to get on in life is by being horrible. The only way you're going to have sex is by being horrible. And that doesn't work for the vast majority. It might work in a few isolated cases where someone is incredibly charming and charismatic, psychopath, or has lots and lots of money. But the reality is 999,999 times out of a million, it doesn't work. In fact, it makes someone want to slap you, especially a woman, if you say something horrible to her or throw a drink in your face. And then you walk away going, oh, I did everything right. Everything I was told to do by the internet. And now I've had a drink splashed in my face. Should this make me reconsider the way that I treat women? No. In fact, I've got a better idea. It actually reinforces the idea that all women are evil and all the problems in the world are caused by women. Okay. I stand with Ukraine and Greenland stuff. Trump says plump. Same here. Same here. A boycott of the Russian World Cup was suggested but never happened. A boycott of the Qatar World Cup was suggested but never happened. I really don't believe that the World Cup was going to fucking... I mean, even if all the other countries decide not to do it, there's so much money in it for the players. There's so much money in it for FIFA. They'll make it work. They'll still make money on it. America's a huge country. It's 330 million people. They can get 60,000 in a stadium easily. It's a shame for Canada and Mexico. I'm sure they spent lots of time and money. Yeah, maybe we could just have it in Canada and Mexico. I honestly think we need to boycott the World Cup this year. I might draft a letter template so people can send that to national teams. Yeah, I agree, Chris. I think that we should. Is our timeline due to Deadpool traveling back in time and not offing Trump when he was in his cradle? I think so. I think that's what he needed to do. We probably need to fund independent, high quality journalism via the government more. People don't want to pay for it when they can get sloppy seconds for free. Yeah, Farsight, I completely agree. It's why the BBC is so important. And it's why the right want to destroy the BBC. They're obsessed with destroying the BBC because the BBC does have quality journalism and it's free. So it's free for us to access. They hate that. They absolutely hate it. They want the truth behind the paywall because that suits them because then they can just keep on putting out these lies. And a lie has it's been around the world twice before the truth has got its pants on. The Mule from Isaac Asimov's Foundation series is what Trump is to my mind. Dan Rich screwed us out of veg-powered flying cars. Vote against the greater evil if that's what it takes. Chris C says, I hope so, but it's allowed me to spend more time sewing. Yeah, good stuff. Bog snorkeling is the way forward. Better than football, says Tough. I will spend the afternoon designing my walk for Heart Warrior bandanas. That's really cool. Thanks for that, Chris. That's a good way of spending your afternoon. I'm going to make a cake. Fucking cake. We'll do some baking this afternoon. Should we do that? Bake with Graham. Should we just do that? The big break Brexit fucking bake off. Yeah, I think I'll make some Make some cookies or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a fruitcake. Ooh, yeah. Maybe I go, red velvet. Maybe like a red carrot cake. That's what I think I'll do. I'll make a fucking carrot cake. Motherfuckers, you can't stop me. Get carroty goodness. Double apologies that I just get woke, says Paulie Donkey. Do not worry, my friend. You can be as woke as fuck on this show. Well, we are all woke as fuck. Okay, so I'm going to get going now. Just in summary of what I was saying earlier, like Greenland, you can fucking invade, but it's going to be a fucking disaster. On every fucking level, every metric, everything that it could possibly be a disaster, it's going to be a fucking disaster. I hope it's a personal disaster for Trump. You know, I hope maybe the relatives of a dead serviceman or woman who dies in the ice, because Trump doesn't supply the people there with the right equipment that they need. Maybe the relatives will not be so happy with him. Thank you very much to Di Stanton. Thank you very much, Di, for the £20. It's very kind of you this morning. As well as Biden, his AG Garland is equally to blame. A weapons-grade wank puffin. He had every opportunity to jail Trump. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Di. You're absolutely right. Merrick Garland, fucking idiot of the highest fucking proportions. But, I mean, Biden could have got rid of him. They should have gone after Trump with everything they had, and they had a fucking lot. The guy broke the fucking law. The guy sent a group of people, thousands of people, into their parliament building to smash it up and kill the people inside. And he got away with it. Got away scot-free. Unfucking-leavable. So, anyway, thank you very much to Di for that £20 super chat, just under the radar. Do you know what, Di? Do you know what? You get a Nobel Prize. Well done. You win a Nobel Prize. Well done, Di. And I don't want anyone to feel left out here, because, you know, it is just one of those things where, you know, this doesn't happen very often, does it? That you are empowered to just hand out Nobel Prizes willy-nilly to just anyone who asks for it. So the good news is, with Paulie Donkey's really, really kind gift to Gillian of Politics Social membership, thank you very much for that. I'm going to give you, Paulie Donkey, and everyone watching this, a Nobel Prize. Nobel Prize is all around! Yeah! Everyone gets it. You get a Nobel Prize. 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 Everyone gets a Nobel Prize. Woohoo! So I'm glad to be able to share that with you. All right, I'm going to get off now. I might do a show tonight. I don't know if I'm going to be asked. Otherwise, I will be back tomorrow morning, bright and early. The cock's crow, or the crow's cock. Oh no, that's the wrong way around. And at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll be here for the next episode of Morning Brew. So hopefully I'll see you there. If not, you can listen to this and any other shows that we do on the Politics Social channel. You can listen to them on our YouTube music page. So go to YouTube Music and you'll be able to listen to these as a podcast. You can do that live, or you can do it after the event. Either way is good with me. But thank you so much for watching. Thanks for the super chats. And until we meet again, hello, good evening, welcome. Give us a like on the way out. Good night.